Fishing's better when you share the experience. Meet new fishing partners through the Co-Angler app. Offer trips, request trips, connect with anglers in your area, and share the cost. Make every trip more affordable and more fun. Co-Angler, connecting anglers one trip at a time.
Welcome to Beyond the Gate, a podcast sharing the grit, growth, and spirits of rural life. From fields to front porches, this is where the heart of agriculture comes alive. Today we go beyond the gate with a man tasked with protecting and serving one of Missouri's largest counties, from rural back roads to growing communities. You've seen it all. Today we welcome Greene County Sheriff Jim Arnott to the studio. Sheriff, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to dive deep into crime trends and specifically rural crime. But first, I want to know the man behind the badge.
Well, I started my career in 1988 at the Greene County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Pierpont. Spent most of my career in the Criminal Investigation Division, so as an investigator. And then when Sheriff Jack Merritt came in office, I promoted up to Sergeant Lieutenant Captain, and then finally his Chief Deputy before he retired, and ran for sheriff and won in 2008, and I've been there ever since.
Been here ever since. So I have I guess you know when you take those tests early in school, or you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? One of mine was to be a detective. Sure. I grew up, I didn't have anyone in my life that was had any criminal justice background or any law enforcement background. So I wasn't ever pushed that way. I never really saw it, but it was always in the back of my brain. And so now as an adult, there's nothing that, if I could not do it over, I love what I do now. But I have this nugget in me that would be so fun.
Sure.
So I'm envious of your career and your tenure in law enforcement. When do you think you first kind of got that calling?
I would say when I was fairly young, probably 12 in there, I knew that I wanted to be a deputy sheriff, not just law enforcement. I wanted to be a deputy sheriff. And as I progressed through high school, everyone knew that. Wrote about it in the school paper, the whole thing. And when I got out, when I graduated high school and moved to Springfield, I grew up in
Where'd you go to high school?
Blue Eye.
Blue Eye, okay.
So very rural.
Yes, more east, southeast?
It's southwest. So Table Rock Lake.
Table Rock, okay, south of Branson still, over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I grew up there, and then when I moved up here, I answered an ad in the newspaper for reserve deputies, and that's what started my career. So I knew early on this is what I wanted to do.
So strong roots in southwest Missouri and rural Missouri. When you think of, those early years in the field, what are some of your earliest memories after taking that first job?
Oh, gosh, I have a lot of them. Some of them are not good. Tragedies that you see for a young 21-year-old, some of the things that I seen right off probably shaped me for my career in criminal investigations, I think. But there's a lot of good things. One of the things that is, and I know this sounds cliche, but it's helping people, being able to be there for the victims and help them through the process.
Because it's not just about solving the crimes, catching the bad guy.
It's not. In fact, a sheriff's office is everything from taking an elderly person's trash out to getting a snake out of a house to working a traffic accident to working a murder. And all those things could happen in the same day as a deputy sheriff. So you encounter all those things, and that's what just made me want to continue to do what I was doing. So
you said you're 21 years old, joining the force here in Greene County. How is the role, how have you seen the county change?
Yeah, we have seen, I think anyone can say, we have seen the city of Springfield change, the crime trends, and that's flowed out into the county. And so we've seen such an increase in violent crime over the past 20 years. And now what we see is an increase of juvenile-related violent crime. And so it's different for different periods of time, but that is our current trend is working towards, trying to deter and, of course, make arrests on juvenile-related crimes.
Let's talk about jurisdiction. Okay, because for me, someone who knows nothing about it, are the lines a little blurred when it comes to your city police force and your county sheriff's office, and who can do what, when, where, how, why?
Yeah, so it's blurred depending on who you are.
Okay.
But for the county sheriff, it's not blurred at all.
Okay.
Whatever city is inside the county is also the jurisdiction of the sheriff. We have no lines. We work well with our police departments within the sheriff's office or within the county, and so a lot of times some of the smaller police departments will call us to assist and work in their murders, work in cases that they don't have any investigators for, or is outside their area of expertise. And then if you go to the bigger city, which is the city of Springfield, we work a lot of stuff inside the city of Springfield. We don't answer calls for service. Like if you get dispatched somewhere to a burglary or something in progress, Springfield responds to that. But the sheriff is elected by the people. And the people, wherever they live, if they're in Greene County and they call and they want assistance, my view is I will go or my staff will go. So we do a lot of things in both areas. We support the police department. Police department supports us. But that's the view from the county sheriff.
You have a big team. I think 600 some employees.
622 full-time employees, and then there's reserves and volunteers, which would be another 400 or 500 on top of that.
Oh, wow. With a county population of, I have no idea.
Everybody says a different number, but between the city and the county, I think we were running right at 300 or a little over. So our population in the daytime is a lot more because everybody coming to work from outside counties. So probably 500 total. But yeah, I think we're running around 300 to 350, somewhere in there.
Let's talk rural crime. When people hear that term, what does that really encompass? I know what I would define it as in my head, but tell me what's accurate.
So rural crime, there's many ways that you can spin that. And as a sheriff, that's what everybody thinks that's primarily what the sheriff's office does is deal with rural crime. But we deal with everything. But I can tell you from our perspective, the biggest thing that we're seeing in rural crime for not just Greene County but other sheriffs around me is theft of farm equipment. We did have a time period 5-7 years ago where we were getting cattle theft issues. We made a couple arrests and that seemed to just go away. So, when that starts happening, everybody starts paying attention, and great help from the folks of all the sale barns that are close because they're watching it too. They don't like a cattle thief either. And so we have really worked pretty well with our partners in that. And when we have cattle that are missing, it's a priority, and we go after it because the amount of money that are in cows now is huge. So, but really, everybody's been doing a pretty good job to start watching out for their neighbors like they used to. And if you're moving at night with a cattle trailer, we're gonna stop you.
Yeah.
Just period.
Radar's up.
Right. So, that used to people be able to do that, but we have found that our farmers appreciate that more when they get stopped at midnight. They may be moving cows to get ready for a sale to ship the cows, but when we show up and detain them and they're like, thank you for it. They're a little upset at the beginning, but at the end they're like, thank you for what you're doing because it does mean a lot.
Well, I think that we think of cattle rustling. It's an old-fashioned term. And I am glad to hear that numbers are down in recent years. Growing up in Lawrence County, our family farm, living on I-44 with, you've got big stockyards on both sides of you, easy access. Cattle theft is still a big thing nationwide. What do the numbers trend across the state? Same as here?
Yeah, we're not seeing a huge number across the state, and I can tell you the last cattle theft we had was in 25, and it was a small amount of cows, and they may have wandered off versus somebody stole them. So, and we see that trend kind of down, and I think it's because we are so much more alert, and there are so many things going on to being able to watch for your cattle, and as soon as something happens, it goes out to the sale barns, and the sale barns are not participating in just letting somebody come sell a cow anymore. There's enough peer pressure from everybody that everybody's watching.
Well, Southwest Missouri, it has a huge population of cow-calf operations. We're looking at, most of them are under 50 heads. So we're not looking at big ranches like out west where branding is a big thing. We don't have branding laws in Missouri. So do you see, we have custom tags for every animal on our farm. But we don't have brands. We've talked about it, thought through it, but because we have such small commercial operations with 50, 20 head, and maybe not great IDs, have you seen an increase of people IDing their cattle better, doing better records so they can identify them at the yards, or is it other things that have detoured it?
Yeah, when we started having some cattle theft years ago, I really was a proponent on the brands because it's easy for a deputy or a state trooper to stop and make an identification that way. However, I found out that is not a popular thing amongst farmers and ranchers. They don't want to do brands in Missouri, but it is popular in other states because it's mandatory.
Yeah,
and so
and tradition.
Yeah, and tradition for sure. So identification was the biggest thing that is tough on law enforcement. And, you try to explain to people, when they've had, their black cows, and they can say, well, it's a black Angus, it's a whatever, it's a black cow.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing DNA on the side of the road, and we can't tell you what it is. We just know it's a black cow, but most everybody has black cows. So it's very difficult for law enforcement to identify that. Tags are great.
You can cut them out.
You can cut those off pretty quick, but it depends on how lazy of a thief that you have.
Right. Well, and commercial operations aren't tattooing like we would on the purebred side. So
right. So there's that. So it's difficult no matter what. Some of the big things that we looked at when we had thefts is don't put your catch pens up by the road.
That was always something my dad talked about, and I guess he read it somewhere or was at a conference, but the most common and easiest position for a farmer is right there at the gate in the corner.
Absolutely. When you put your catch pens, you put them up by the road, so it's easy when you pull that cattle trailer up to load them.
Yeah.
But it's also easy for the thief to bait them in there.
It's easy for the thief, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the big things that we preached for a while is don't put your catch pens by the road, move them. And some people listened, some people didn't. But those are things, or secure your catch pens where somebody can't use it other than you. A big log chain with a lock that you can't cut. Those things that make it a little safer. And the other thing is keep track of your cattle. Just not only count them, but check to make sure that people aren't going by the road and baiting them by throwing feed out. And because that's what they'll do. They may tie one of the big things they used to do and still do is they'll tie a Walmart bag or something on a fence, and a farmer will just think, oh, that blew and it caught there.
Oh, I've not heard this one.
But that's a location for somebody else to come pick up the cows because that's where they've been dropping the feed.
Cut the fence, they're going to load easily.
Right. So, watch those things. If you see feed on the ground close to the road, you better be paying attention. Call the sheriff's office, let them know. Because that's what they're doing is they're baiting your cows to come up when they drive by. And when they drive by, just like your truck, they know where the feed truck is.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. Keep an eye on that stuff. Don't overlook it and just think, oh, that's a coincidence. Or there's a feed sack, that is not your brand, or you didn't leave feed sacks. Some farmers just let their trash go sometimes, but most of the time, everybody takes their feed sack. So if there's a feed sack in your field, you better be watching and let law enforcement know. Just don't call when there's a problem. Give us a heads up because we may have had one of your neighbors call us and tell us about something similar. If you don't call, we can't put it together.
How we were talking about cattle. Are there any other high theft livestock, or do you see that? I mean, pigs are more confinement. Sheep and goat not very popular in this neck of the woods. No value in horses, although I love my horses.
Yes, if you have a good horse, there's good value.
Yeah.
But no, in general, you're absolutely correct. So, No, you got to look at what's the easiest thing for them to do, what's the easiest thing to sell. We've actually moved away from people stealing objects to now, hey, how can I do it through money laundering? How can I do a fraud scheme? By using your farm name or using your account or pulling money out of your farm account. There's so many things that technology has advanced the old time cattle thief, cattle rustler to I can do this more white collar and
a
defraud
little less
somebody.
labor intensive.
Yes. And you know what? Thieves are not usually in for labor, otherwise they'd have a job. So
That's right.
so if you can deter them, I mean, if they're figuring out how not to work, that's what they're going to do.
Well, a local man who made national news and was arrested just last month in March of 2026 was indicted for cattle fraud charges. Were you part of that investigation?
We were not. No, it was not in our specific area. Local person, but charges from elsewhere.
But an example of
same exact thing, figuring out there's big money in cattle, and so there's
the industry as a whole.
Yeah, so if there's a way to fraudulently do something, somebody's going to figure it out.
So other types of rural crime, you mentioned theft. Are you seeing the theft of quick nab and grabs, or are we looking at more high theft or high valued equipment, trucks, tractors?
Yeah, tractors are always big, and we always certain times of year is
season.
Right. Where people leave them out by the road or they leave them in the middle of the field, they leave everything there and they go. And we get it because
We're all guilty.
most sheriffs are farmers too. So we understand how that works. But you have got to really, safeguard your equipment. There are so many things you can do now. And I can tell you some of the cheapest things are the GPS tracking devices on your tractor. I mean, it's cheaper than your game cam, and you're willing to spend that monthly charge on, tracking the deer that you're going to get like one time a year. But a lot of people don't think about, hey, what about that $100,000 John Deere tractor
Can't you
that I
just
have?
throw a air tag in one of those? And
You can, but that notifies the thief. So,
okay, yeah.
But those tracking devices are cheap. You can hide them. There's so many out there. I don't have a recommendation, but there's so many out there that you can hide it on your equipment. And we've tracked more equipment running off to Texas with those GPS trackers that the bad guys had no idea. We were watching it, and we had Texas Rangers and Texas Department of Public Safety intercept them. So that is a cheap way to watch your investment.
Well, side note, Walker, Texas Ranger was my favorite show growing up.
I'm not going to lie. He may have had a little influence on,
Many people, I'm
Right,
sure.
exactly.
I'm sure. Do you? We know where the cattle are being sold. They're going to hit the interstates and they're going to cross state lines. You mentioned Texas and following traffic there. Where is the goal? Because we are at a cross point. We've got Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma. Getting across those state lines, is that a goal for a thief?
Oh,
Are we a target because of where we are, kind of, and with I-44?
Well, yeah, of course. We're a target with drug runners. We're a target with human trafficking, illegals, you name it. I-44 brings us all the best things. So that kept in mind for sure. But probably the biggest thing that we've got to watch out for, in Missouri, all law enforcement agencies pretty much talk to each other. We're very, we share intel information. We are right on things. We have a good network. Other states do not. So as you go to bigger states that have less networking, they do want to get out of Missouri. They do want to get to, I'm not saying Arkansas is an easy place, but there's less law enforcement in Arkansas, and it's more rural. So those are challenges for us. Arkansas, Oklahoma, we have good connections in those states, but once somebody gets over there, it's harder for us to track.
Well, maybe we can talk about, take a look at some of the cases. Were there some cases in your tenure here in Southwest Missouri when it comes to rural crime that have resonated with you?
Sure. Well, we've had, we had a little bit of an epidemic of cattle theft. I think it's like 7 or 8 years ago, where we caught a lot of media attention. Farmers and ranchers were very upset with us because we couldn't solve it. But the problem is we were losing black cows. We were losing, cows that we couldn't track. We were able to solve it, but our arrests were not for cattle theft. It was for other things. And then it immediately stopped. We knew who our bad guys were. But traveling a couple states away, and as quick as those sale barns run cows through, not ours, but other sale barns out of state, and you just have a black calf and you have 300 of them that run through a thing, and they're mixing in a couple stolen ones.
Yeah, they're commingling them.
Yeah, it's so hard to prove it. So unless they're DNA tested, show cows or something like that. So that was a big case that kind of went on, and we stopped everything that moved at night.
So go ahead. I won't interrupt.
Yeah, so that was a big case, but we did wrap it up. And then
you mentioned stopping everything you saw at night. So
right.
Any truck and trailer through that time period you saw at night, you had troopers up and down county roads,
deputies, they'd stop them. And the worst thing was sale barn night, and so because everybody's taking their cows,
going home.
right, or I just got done at the sale and bought these, and like, okay, let me see your papers. And after the sale was great. Before the sale, it was like, then we had to double check and make sure it was coming from their house, because thieves are going to the sale too.
Yeah.
So those things were a challenge. But those things worked out good as far as like rural crime, cattle theft. We were able to take care of it.
You mentioned that you caught them, arrested them for other things,
right?
Not cattle theft.
Correct.
What were they arrested for?
So one was arrested for felon in possession of a gun, and it's a car stop that I made of our suspected cattle thief, and he had a weapon on him, and he was a convicted felon. That's an easy 10. So that was an easier case, and we didn't know where the cows were going. And so I did catch him with a gun. It worked out. So those are things you got to look at. Sometimes you can't get your bad guys on.
Catch them in the act.
Right, but you can catch them for other things that they do. So
what is a typical sentencing process look for someone who is convicted of cattle theft? How many years in jail?
Well, let me tell you this. This is going to be the disappointing part of your podcast because we just got a truth in sentencing bill signed this week. So one of our biggest issues for as long as I've been in law enforcement is if a judge sentences you to 10 years, most people think they're going to do 80% of that 10 years. But realistically, the way the system is set up, you'd be lucky if they do 1 year in prison and get out on a 10-year sentence, which is ridiculous. Because if you're a victim of the crime or family of, you got this person that the judge said was going away for 10 years, and they don't even do a year. That is all set up through the Bureau of Prisons, and not the Bureau of Prisons, but the Missouri Department of Corrections, the Probation and Parole Office. All those things make it to where these guys don't serve their time. So we sponsored a bill called Truth in Sentencing. So if you get 10 years, we want you to get at least close to 10 years. And so we've made some good progress, but that still needs to progress and get better. So you'll see law enforcement constantly going after that legislation along with the prosecutors in Missouri trying to get that better.
Are the criminals in Southwest Missouri, in rural areas across, are they passing through, or are they locals typically when it comes to rural crime?
It really depends. If it's big tractors, or if it's thefts from tractor dealers along the highway, those usually run out of state. If it's older equipment, then it's usually a local. And we see it funneled through Facebook Marketplace or used to be Craigslist, those kind of things. So it really depends.
Any memorable, surprising cases?
Oh, I have so many, I don't even know where to start. You'd have to pick a category.
Well, rural crime, let's do theft. We've talked cattle theft. Let's do more, a different type of theft.
Sure. Well, gosh, there's so much. I'm trying to think.
Or dumb criminal.
Oh, we have lots of dumb criminals. It'd be neat to make that reel of the dumbest criminals in my career. But we've had
Top
ones
10.
that leave shoes behind with their name in them. They drop their wallet when they run. They crash through a gate to steal a tractor, and they leave their license plate. Because they went through the gate and the license plate gets ripped off the front. Those are the best. There's so much of that. It's really hard to keep up. And, and I've always said this, thieves are if they would put as much effort into stealing, and if they take that effort and get a job, they'd really be superstars. Mm-hmm. But they work so hard.
They go work on the farms they're stealing from.
Right. They work so hard to commit the crimes that you just wonder why the benefit does not outweigh.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've already talked about some prevention. So my next question is about technology, and not the using technology in crime, but the prevention. Cameras are everywhere, very affordable. You see people at work checking their phone every second. It vibrates because there's a motion,
Sure.
in their front yard. Has that been able to be a tool for you to use to find the criminals?
Absolutely. Ring doorbell cameras are great.
They're my favorite TikTok reels, are Ring doorbells.
Sure. And they catch people passing by. So you may not catch them in the act, but then you've identified, there's somebody with a, black dually that just went by, and then your theft happened. So those are great. Game cameras are cheap, as long as you hide them so they don't steal them, because that's a big thing. They'll steal those too. Unless it's hooked to your phone, you won't have the photos they take. So, and camera systems are dirt cheap that work off the internet. So, yeah, if you like your stuff,
which
put
is
those
like
out.
We do. Everybody
Right.
likes the stuff we have.
Right. So, yeah, absolutely use those. Like I said, the GPS tracking device on tractors and your heavy equipment, or your balers, don't forget about those just because they don't have a motor on them or what, those are easy for people to steal. So make sure you put one on that. I mean, there's just so many things that people don't think about that cost $25,000, $30,000 that they don't track. And so it's a cheap way to do it, and you don't forget where you parked your tractor, because people do that too. And then you get on your phone and figure out where it was.
40 did I?
Right, exactly.
Or in my case, dad, grandpa, husband says, come pick me up at the blah, blah, blah. And you're like, huh, where? Well, you can I'm right here.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a huge benefit. And you see a lot of the big ranches doing that. Sure. And it's not just for prevention of theft. It's like, where did I leave my equipment? Where's all my equipment? Can I account for all of it?
Yeah, where's the farmhand at right now? I want to make sure.
Well, that too.
It's a whole other topic.
You do have theft there too. So,
another type of theft that we've experienced on our farm. Yes, growing up and now current farm, fuel.
Sure, absolutely. Hey, when you look at, and diesel is $5 a gallon now.
We've got those big tanks.
I mean, we used to have a lot of that, and I haven't seen as much in the last year. But our prices have been up and down. Like right now, they're way up. So I would see that we'll see an increase in fuel theft.
And well, back growing up, definitely didn't have cameras. Never caught them. My grandpa had his buggy stolen. His horse, he raced foxtrotters. This was 20 years ago. But things like that. He had I don't know what you call it. It is the portable tack room that sits inside of a trailer. It's that big. Anyways,
Right.
He had one of those stolen out of a trailer. We lost. I was in high school probably. Lost all the saddles. Found it later. I don't remember the story. I need to ask my mom and find out what that story was. But sometimes you are able to redeem items.
Right.
And find the lost and stolen items.
For sure.
But gas is not one of them. Fuel is not
true.
one of them. And, the joke was always growing up, well, they just put red diesel in there, they're going to get caught sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe. Community. Neighbor support, you mentioned that. Local networks and relationships that you have with the farmers and ranchers. My neck of the woods in our area, south of, or south of Lebanon, we have the Brush Creek Neighborhood Watch Facebook group. How have those? What's the importance of them, and how have they helped you all?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, Neighborhood Watch goes back to the 60s, and it's really our best thing that we use. And you can condemn your nosy neighbor people all you want, but they are the first ones to see somebody that shouldn't be in the neighborhood, and they're the first ones to call and say something. Now with the networks that we have, whether you have a Facebook group or you have everybody on a same text line,
Yep.
where there's a group of you, that's the best thing, and it's just getting better.
Can you tell me about the Posse of Greene County?
So there's a couple posses
Okay.
in Greene County, but the one you're referring to, it's called Sheriff Arnott's Distinguished Posse.
Ooh.
And it is a group of, it started very small, a group of my friends that got together, and we recognized the need for a new sales tax in Greene County for law enforcement. And so I needed help to fund an educational campaign, and we formed this little group. It was not named. I just called them my posse because they were just a group of friends, and they chipped in, and we did an educational piece, and that's where we were able to pass the tax to get the new jail and a couple hundred more staff members, and so it was huge. That posse continued to grow because as people seen the need that the government and taxes, there is a point where those things don't fund everything. This group stepped up, and they have provided, canines for our department. Our canine unit I have 11 dogs, and they are totally funded, not with taxpayer money. They're totally funded by donations.
Wow.
A big part of that.
And that training for those animals.
The training is $8,000 just for
Yeah.
the dog. The dog is $6,000 to $8,000.
And then maintenance, upkeep, you got to feed them.
Feed them, and vet bills, and it's so that's all not by any sales, not by any tax or any county money.
Private fundraising.
And so this posse just completed. Our project is not completed, but we're almost complete with a firing range for the sheriff's office. So we built I guess we're right at $6 million firing range. That was all by donations and grants.
Wow.
and things that are not county money. So the posse is a great thing. It's a great group of people. There's about almost 50 members in it now. It started with 5 and just has grown, and just business owners, good friends, people in the banking industry, just a little bit of everywhere. There's a great mixture of people, and they do a fantastic job. And their goal is to support law enforcement in Greene County and now Southwest Missouri. Like, we built this range. The vision from the board of directors was we need it to be regional and be able to take the small sheriff's offices, the small police departments.
Because you're a big county, a big office, you have more resources.
Right. So they're going to come up to that training center and
What a tool.
and train. So, yeah, couldn't do the things that we've done without my posse.
Well, you mentioned dogs. We cannot, have the interview without your distinguished guest with you today in the studio.
Sure. So I've got Katie, and she's
asleep.
She is asleep, and that's what she does most of the time. She is a rescue dog from Rescue One. They actually picked her up. She's got a really good story, or a really bad story, I guess. She got hit by a car. She was picked up by the dog catcher. They had marked her. It was in the evening. They had marked her to put her down in the morning, and because she had a really bad leg that was all messed up. And Rescue One came in because she was on the list to euthanize, picked her up, took her to the vet, amputated her leg. She was in a foster care setup, and they approached me to be their keynote speaker for a fundraiser. And they said, "Hey, Sheriff, we want to bring a dog in to get a picture with you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so they bring her in, sit her on my desk. We get pictures for the brochure and the posters and the advertisement, and I fell in love with her. So
and she went home with you.
Well, she didn't. I I lived in an apartment during that time.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought, I can't have a dog. And so I went and visited her at her foster house. And I wanted to make sure we were a good match. So I took her for a ride in the pickup, and we bonded. And, I mean, it's been history. That's been 3 years ago. And she goes to work with me every day. She rides on my tractor with me. She gets on my backhoe with me, rides in the trucks. The only thing that she can't do is get on my horse because she can't balance. We've tried it, but she can't stay on there, so she runs beside me.
Can't balance because she's three legs. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, she's moving quite well. Oh, she's heard her name. She's woke up.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So, I'm going to end with asking you one thing that we need to walk away with today.
Sure.
But did you ever have a plan B? After, 21 years old, you started in the force. Was there ever a plan B?
There was not a plan B. Funny you should say that, because that has really, when you work for a sheriff, you work at the pleasure of the sheriff in the state of Missouri. Mm-hmm. So if the sheriff doesn't like you, back in the day, you would just be fired. I mean, that's just how it worked.
And you've worked under many sheriffs.
I've worked under two.
Oh.
I survived two, Sheriff Pierpont and Sheriff Merritt, and then ran for sheriff. And same thing when I ran for sheriff. I was the chief deputy, so I was the number 2 guy, and I just threw everything in the hat. And I had no vision of being a sheriff. My vision was to make it to sergeant and retire, but I surpassed that, and God put you in certain places for certain reasons, and that was my time and my place, and no plan B when I ran for sheriff. It was like I have 20 years in as a deputy sheriff, and I was either going to get it, and if I didn't get it, I was going to be out of a job. And so didn't have a plan B then, and fast forward, I've got kind of a unique situation now. President Trump has selected me to be the United States Marshal.
I was going to ask, can we talk about your next steps?
Sure. That was not a planned deal either. It's just those things just seem to happen, and so I never have a plan B. I just keep rolling, and I've enjoyed my career as sheriff and deputy sheriff, and this will be the next level in a federal level. I've never been appointed to anything. I usually had to be elected to something.
Now you'll be serving at the pleasure of the president.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Sheriff, thank you for coming in today.
You bet.
If there's one thing that you want rural Missourians to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
Probably the biggest thing is take care of your neighbors. Make sure that whether it's watching out for each other or you have an elderly neighbor, we see a lot of neglect of not only neighbors but just the actual people. So watch out for your neighbors, and just watch out for each other, because no matter what county or area you live in, law enforcement can't be there all the time. So I will throw out, I am pro Second Amendment, pro concealed carry, open carry, however you want to carry, you better carry, and you better be able to
responsibly.
Right, and take care of your family and your house, and we will come and help you when that time comes. Hopefully it doesn't, but I think everybody just needs to be more responsible and take care of each other.
Well, thank you, Sheriff, for letting us go beyond the gate with you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Beyond the Gate. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. New episodes drop every other Wednesday. For more content, follow Around the Ozarks and Beyond the Gate on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter at aroundtheozarks.com. Join us next time for more stories of grit, growth, and the spirit of rural life.